Namaskaram Lubibs. This is Harish here from Melbourne Yatri. Welcome to another episode of New Home Construction. In this stage, we will be looking at the frame construction of my brick Wiener house. In the frame stage at our home, we were delivered the timber needed to build the frame along with its allied accessories, window frames, alfresco frame and doors, and roof trusses. And in terms of activity, what was completed was mark out of all the house walls on the concrete, that means the concrete slab. Then the walls construction were done, wherein lintels, heater platform, noggins, studs, beams were actually all put into place. Bracing was used for all the bracing walls. Windows and alfrescos were actually erected, and finally, the roof trusses were actually put. Lintels were actually installed in the frame, and these lintels are actually the horizontal beam on top of the windows or any of the large open spaces. The heater platform is nothing but a broad-based platform which is actually almost in the mezzanine floor. That means it's actually above your living space but under the trusses, and that platform is actually used to host the house heating furnace. The noggins are these horizontal bars which are actually used to give form and shape and actually hold two studs actually into place, and these are not supposed to be load bearing, but these are very much useful to actually route most of your cables and for either for water or for gas or for electricity. Studs actually carry most of the weight of the house, and these studs are actually placed across. Now, based on engineering standards, some people actually put studs roughly 400 to 450 mm apart. For us was actually between anywhere between 600 to 900 mm apart based on the location they are in the walls, and bracings were actually used here to go ahead and give additional structural stability. The timber was delivered along with some of these sheets and allied accessories. Yay, it's always exciting to see your windows. For the first time, those are the windows that you've actually ordered have reached the site. Now these two were windows what we have ordered were actually aluminium based. They've come with tapes on them in order to prevent them from getting scratched, and the white base that you see across is actually used it to fit into the frame. The door frames also arrived. The bottom of the door frame is always metal, whereas the other three sides is actually made up of wood. So the marking of all the walls as per the dimensions and the building permit are actually done on the floor with the help of chalk powder that lasts for a while, and these are very precise markings, so hence they're always verified a couple of times. And once the markings are done, then the temporary pieces of timber is laid out to see whether all the markings fit properly, especially for the wall bases, because in case there is any error in terms of marking or the design of the slab, you don't want to build your entire wall and then figure out, oh, there is an error in the overall dimensions. So that's the reason rough timber is actually used to mock setup of your entire house, but only the what you call the base of all your walls is actually being laid out there. Once the carpenters feel, yeah, I mean, this is up to the design and the dimensions which are there inside it suit across as per the layout given to you, then they start building the pieces of wall with the timber provided to them. This is an interesting metal bracing that they were actually using to join a horizontal and a vertical timber base. So the walls are actually assembled in this fashion on the floor, and once they're completely assembled to a certain section of the house, then they're actually erected vertically up and then fitted into the concrete by using larger nails and a very powerful air driven pneumatic nail gun, which is nothing but it is using the air pressure to drive the nails into the concrete. So as the walls keep appearing, you might see in certain places, especially in the corners, that the wood might actually be off by few either it is a little bit inside the concrete base or it is a little bit outside. You need not worry about it. Do remember, in a brick Wiener house you also get a set of bricks outside these timber walls which you're looking at, but then definitely as a rule of thumb, what have been explained by the carpenters, that 80% of the timber is supposed to be on top of the concrete. They do allow some amount of tolerances in order to accommodate the internal dimensions of my home. So in cases where they were actually trying to install it closer to the ground, especially in the porch, the garage, as well as in the alfresco, they did lay out this black kind of plastic layer out there, prevent it from termite attack. So the timber being used all across here is a treated timber. I am not sure exactly the class of its treatment, but each piece of the timber wood is actually stamped by a particular Australian standard, and the treatment of the timber given to it has actually been stamped on top of it. Now in some cases you will actually see this brown color things. I mean, some people call them as nuggets or something. I don't know, what is the exact technical term to it. And normally in teak wood, if you see something like that, we would actually call it as a structural issue and not even use it. But here, because the wood is actually pine wood and especially treated pine wood, I was explained by the carpenter that it's perfectly fine to go ahead and use it. And in some cases, we actually found it in this way, and they say, this is how pine trees grow, and I need not worry about it. So, if any of you are structural engineers or know better than what I understand, please to go ahead and actually comment below. This was one of the beams which actually had this kind of weird cut, and when I actually raised it up with the builder, the carpenter and the builder did explain to me that because these are actually certified timber and they're certified to go ahead and carry load, I need not worry about it. I have no idea whether I'm supposed to take it on face value or not. If any of you do know about it, please do go ahead and comment. But anyway, beyond the point, I cannot be worried for a simple reason being is because I'm getting a structural warranty, and my structural warranty is actually for close to 50 years, if as long as I own the building. And if I'm actually transferring my building ownership to someone else, it would last for 7 years. So yeah, I'm not worried at all, because hey, I mean, these guys have been building thousands of homes, so I'm guessing they know what they're doing. This is another exciting stage of the frame built. When all the trusses got delivered, there was a huge crane that has actually come up, and it has lifted all this trusses from a larger trolley base, like a 16-wheel trolley truck, onto the on top of the wooden frames that were built there, and these are all stacked on the top. You should see these people working. It's like magic. It's really like magic. These are like magicians who are working in real life. I somehow call them real life magicians because they are actually fundamentally creating something physical and tangible out of just building plans which are drawn on a piece of paper. So these were my trusses which have been given there. Most of these trusses are actually pre-assembled to a certain extent, and the rest of the assembly is actually done along with fixing them on top of the wooden walls by the roofing experts. Now, some of these trusses did also have these interesting holes in them, and when I went back and asked the builder with respect to structural soundness of it, there was an audit done by the building surveyor, I think, if they're called, if that's the right name, and they did actually certify that all these are actually good enough to go ahead and bear the structural load of the roof, and hence I need not worry, because the job of the trusses is to go ahead and take the entire structural weight of the roof and any equipment that you put on top of the roof. So we have actually chosen a color bond roof, or some people would call it a metal roof or a tin roof. That's because that's what we like, and we are assuming that apart from the tin roof, what we might have on top of it would be most probably some accessories for venting and stuff, and then some of the solar panels. So as long as that is the only load actually above there, I was being assured that I need not worry about the trusses being put up. As the trusses gets laid out, you would be really seeing the shape of the roof as well as the shape of your house taking over right in front of your eyes. It's an amazing feeling. When the walls go up and the windows go in, this is the time that you actually try to see the size or the space of the rooms that you have actually gone ahead and designed in or agreed to as part of a standard layout, and actually feel the design of it. But try to remember, this is not what you call a demo house, or this is not a display house. This is actually your house which is getting built there. That feeling is very difficult to explain, but is absolutely enthralling. These are my alfresco doors which were actually put up out there, and my wife was actually walking behind, very excited, both of us, to see this wooden alfresco doors, pretty large ones, and they open up and will let in a lot of light as well as air, and yeah, I mean, they're not stained yet. I think they'll be stained later on in the I think in the finishing stage of the house. This is one of the windows that is actually there. When I saw the design layout, the window is of a certain height, unable to actually imagine it, but when you physically see the window, that's a life size window. I'm happy, no complaints of getting large windows. This is for the first time we saw how our garage is going to look like and how the outside of the garage is going to look like from inside. Very interesting. That's where you're going to do all the fun summer projects or winter projects. Try to park your car, try to park a lot of stuff that you don't want to put inside your house into the garage. This is a montage of drone footage I actually have at the various phases at which the houses were getting built. This was before the trusses were laid laid, how the wood was actually, wooden walls were braced with each other, how they were actually, joined with each other, either way you want to call it. And then it's very interesting, the way the house actually appears out of nowhere by the magic of actually these carpenters, who are trained to go ahead and build the wooden walls and actually lay the trusses on top of it. Now, what I was actually explained that the people who actually build the walls and the people who actually build the trusses are slightly different, because that's a different section of specialization inside carpentry. And especially if you're dealing with trusses and roofing, because that's actually working at heights, so you also need to be trained at actually work for safety. And I think there is an OSHA rules around it, and you got to go ahead and actually practice them. So it was very beautiful and exciting to actually look at all of these. So this brings us to the end of the frame stage construction of the house. Stay tuned for the next stage of construction of the house that we'll go ahead and actually share. If you do like this video, please go ahead, like and subscribe. And you can also go ahead and watch the previous videos that were already done as part of the new home construction series. We have pretty interesting ones that have actually happened in the construction of our home. And then stay tuned for newer episodes.